Stop. I know what you do when you're alone in your room. I know what you whisper when you think no one is listening. You talk to yourself. Society tells you that's the first sign of going crazy. Movies depict the villain muttering to themselves in the dark. But neuroscience says it might be the ultimate proof that you are a genius. There's a very thin line between a mental breakdown and a mental breakthrough. Today, we are going to find out exactly which side of that line you are standing on. Let's kill the stigma right now. You are not crazy, you are just loud. Psychologists call this externalized self talk. And guess what? The smartest people on earth do it the most. Albert Einstein was caught talking to himself constantly, repeating sentences to himself while walking. Steve Jobs used to have full debates with himself. Why? Because your brain isn't just a storage drive, it's a processor. When you talk out loud, you are literally slowing down your thoughts so you can process them better. It's a concept called cognitive offloading. Think of your brain like a computer with too many tabs open. When you speak, you're taking some of that data out of the RAM and putting it onto the screen where you can see it. It makes the problem tangible. In fact, a study published in the Quarterly Journal of Experimental Psychology proved this. They asked people to find specific items in a supermarket, like a banana or a bag of coffee. The group that stayed silent took longer. The group that repeated the name of the object out loud found it significantly faster. Speaking the word sparks the visual memory in your brain. It heightens your attention. So if you are walking around your house looking for your keys, muttering keys, 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 you aren't senile. You are optimizing your search algorithm. But here's the trick 99% of people miss. There is a wrong way to talk to yourself and a right way. Most people use what we call motivational self-talk. They say, you can do this, you are strong. That's cute, but it's often useless when you are trying to learn a hard skill. What you need is instructional self-talk. This is what elite athletes use. A basketball player doesn't just say, I am the best. They say, elbow in, follow through, snap the wrist. If you are trying to solve a complex problem or build a business, stop hyping yourself up and start commanding yourself like a general. Give yourself instructions out loud. Now, let's unlock the billionaire hack. This is a technique used by people like LeBron James and Julius Caesar. It is called Iliism. This is when you stop saying I and start using your own name. Instead of saying I am stressed, you say Abbas is stressed. It sounds weird, but it flips a biological switch in your brain. It creates psychological distance. It moves your brain activity from the amygdala, which is the emotional, fearful center, to the prefrontal cortex, which is the logical, rational center. When you say I, you are the victim of the emotion. When you say your name, you become the coach of the emotion. You're no longer in the storm, you are watching the storm from a safe distance. However, I promised I wouldn't sugarcoat this. There is a dark side. Talking to yourself becomes dangerous when it turns into rumination. This is the toxic loop. If your voice is a broken record, playing your failures on repeat, telling you you're a loser, why did you say that? Nobody likes you. That is not self-talk. That is self-destruction. That is your brain attacking itself. And here's the medical red flag. If the voices you hear don't feel like your voice, if they feel like they are coming from outside your head or commanding you to do things you don't want to do, that is not a habit. That is a symptom. And that is when you need a doctor, not a YouTube video. So, is it normal to talk to yourself? Yes. In fact, it is necessary. Silence is overrated. If you want to win arguments, build a business, or fix your life, you need to have a meeting with the smartest person you know. You. Just make sure you are a good boss to yourself, not a toxic one. Start narrating your life. Start commanding your actions. And if anyone looks at you weird, just remember, lions do not concern themselves with the opinions of sheep. If you want to master your own psychology, hit subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.